The crimson sky above planet Zirion was about to witness something unprecedented, something that would make the galaxy's most feared warlords wake up in cold sweats for decades to come. But let's start at the beginning, shall we? Because every good revenge story needs proper context. Zara Chen had been having what you might call a really bad day. Actually, make that a really bad 3 months. Ever since the Thrakx Empire decided that Earth looked like prime real estate, her life had gone from ordinary college student studying xenobiology to sole survivor humanity's last stand. Talk about a career change nobody puts on their resume. She stood now in the center of the Crimson Arena, surrounded by a howling crowd of alien spectators. Thousands of them, all baying for blood. Her blood, specifically. The irony wasn't lost on her that she'd spent years studying alien life forms, and now she was about to become a very educational example of human mortality for their entertainment. The arena itself was a marvel of engineering. If you were into that whole coliseum where people die horribly aesthetic, massive crystalline walls rose 300 feet into the alien sky, their surfaces pulsing with an eerie blue light. Energy shields hummed overhead, keeping the crowd safe from any stray plasma bolts or flying body parts. How considerate. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted sentient beings. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena in perfect galactic standard. His name was Vex, a slug-like creature with too many eyes and an unfortunate habit of spitting when he got excited, which was often. Today we present a most unusual spectacle. The last known human in the galaxy, captured from the smoking ruins of Earth's final defense station. The crowd erupted in cheers, tentacles waving, mandibles clicking, and various other appendages doing things that probably counted as applause in their respective cultures. Zara looked up at them and smiled. Not the kind of smile you'd expect from someone about to die. More like the smile of someone who knew a really good joke that nobody else had heard yet. She will face our champion. Vex continued, his voice dripping with theatrical malice. The Butcher of Corvist, the destroyer of the vegan fleet. The one, the only, General Thrakx the Unmerciful. The crowd went absolutely wild as the arena's opposite gate ground opened with a sound like grinding bones. What emerged from the darkness beyond made even the bloodthirsty spectators fall silent for a moment. General Thrakx was 12 feet of pure, concentrated nightmare fuel. His exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, covered in battle scars that told stories of 1,000 victories. For arms, each ending in claws that could slice through starship hull plating. Mandibles that dripped with some kind of paralytic venom. Eyes like burning coals set deep in an armored skull. He'd personally led the fleet that glassed Earth's major cities and turned humanity's mightiest warships into cosmic debris. He stepped into the arena and raised all 4 arms to crowd, basking in their adoration. Then his burning gaze fell on Zara, and his mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "So," he said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the arena floor. "This is the last of the humans. How disappointing. I expected more from the species that dared to resist the Thrakx Empire." Zara tilted her head slightly, studying him with the kind of detached interest she might have shown to a particularly interesting lab specimen back in her university days. "Oh, trust me," she said conversationally. "You haven't seen anything yet." Thrax's mandibles clicked again, this time with genuine amusement. "Such spirit, it will make breaking you all the more satisfying. Tell me, little human, do you know what happened to your home world? I was there, you see. I watched your cities burn. I heard your people scream." The crowd leaned forward, sensing the delicious psychological torture to come. This was always the best part, when the champion broke their opponents well before the actual killing started. Zara's expression didn't change. If anything, she looked mildly bored. "Yeah, I heard about that. Quite the accomplishment. Big guy." Though I have to ask, she paused, as if considering her words carefully. "How many ships did you lose taking out a single planet with no real military to speak of?" The arena fell dead silent. This wasn't how these conversations usually went. Thrax's eyes flared brighter. "What did you say?" "Oh, come on," Zara continued, her tone taking on that special kind of sarcasm that could cut through starship armor. "Earth wasn't exactly a military powerhouse, was it? We had what? Maybe 24 proper warships. A few orbital defense platforms that were basically held together with duct tape and hope, and yet somehow, according to the reports I've read, you lost, let's see, carry the two roughly 40% of your invasion fleet. The general's claws extended involuntarily. Several members of the crowd shifted uncomfortably. This human was either incredibly brave or completely insane. Possibly both. We faced unexpected resistance, Thrakx growled. Unexpected resistance, Zara repeated, nodding thoughtfully. Right, from a species that, up until about 5 minutes before you showed up, thought the height of military technology was shooting things with chemical propellants. Must have been really embarrassing for you guys back at headquarters. Now the crowd was starting to mutter among themselves. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was uncomfortable. Humans were supposed to beg and cry and die in interesting ways. They weren't supposed to roast their executioners with surgical precision. Vex cleared his throat nervously. Perhaps we should begin the actual combat. Oh, we're getting there, Zara said, never taking her eyes off Thrakx. But I'm genuinely curious about something, General. See, I've spent the last 3 months in your ships, and I've had plenty of time to study your people, read your history, learn about your culture. And do you know what I discovered? Thrakx was vibrating with barely contained rage now, but something in the human's tone made him hesitate. There was a confidence there that didn't belong in the voice of someone about to die. The Korthak Empire, Zara continued, for all its bluster and fear-mongering, has never actually faced a real fight. Every species you've conquered was either technologically inferior, already weakened by internal conflicts, or simply surprised by the sheer audacity of your attacks. You're bullies, essentially. Really big, really well-armed bullies. Enough! Thrakx roared, and the sound was like a starship engine exploding. I will tear you apart slowly for your insolence. Zara blinked once. Slowly. You know what the funny thing is, though? The general paused mid-charge, caught off guard by her complete lack of fear. Humans have been dealing with bullies for thousands of years, she said softly, and we've gotten really, really good at it. That's when everything went sideways. The first sign that something was wrong came when the arena's lights flickered. Then the energy shields overhead sparked and went dark. The crowd, suddenly realizing they were no longer protected from whatever was about to happen below, began to panic. Vex was frantically pressing buttons on his announcer's console, but nothing was responding. Technical difficulties, he squealed into his microphone. Please remain calm while we... His words were cut off as every electronic system in the arena simply died. The silence that followed was deafening. Zara reached into her pocket and pulled out what looked like a small, innocuous device no bigger than a coin. She held it up so Thrakx could see it clearly. Quantum Cascade Disruptor, she said cheerfully. My own design, actually. Took me about 2 weeks to build using spare parts from your own ships. Funny thing about studying xenobiology, you learn how different species technology works. And once you understand how something works... She pressed a button on the device. Every weapon in the arena, from Thrax's personal arsenal to the guards' plasma rifles, suddenly became very expensive paperweights. You learn how to break it, she finished. The crowd was in full panic now, but they couldn't leave. The arena's exits had sealed automatically when the main power died, a security feature designed to prevent escapes during technical malfunctions. They were trapped with whatever was about to happen. Thrakx stared at the useless weapons hanging from his belt, then back at the small human standing calmly in the center of the arena. For the first time in his long, violent career, he felt something he'd never experienced before. Something cold and unfamiliar crawling up his spine. Impossible, he whispered. You're just a human. A weak, primitive human. Zara's smile widened, and suddenly it wasn't pleasant anymore. It was the smile of a predator who had been playing with her food. See, that's where you made your mistake, General, she said, beginning to walk toward him with slow, measured steps. You assumed that because we were technologically behind you, we were less than you. You thought conquest would be easy. You thought we'd just roll over and die. Thrakx backed away involuntarily. Without his weapons and technological advantages, he was beginning to realize just how isolated he was in this arena, how vulnerable. But here's the thing about humans, Zara continued, her voice carrying easily across the now silent arena. "We don't give up. We don't forget. And we never, ever forgive." She stopped walking and stood perfectly still, hands at her sides, looking up at the towering alien warrior. "So when you glassed my homeworld, when you murdered 8 billion people for the crime of existing in your way, you didn't destroy humanity, General. You just made it very, very angry." The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Then Thrakx, desperate and cornered, did what any cornered predator does. He attacked with everything he had left. All 4 of his massive arms swept toward the tiny human figure, claws extended, mandibles wide, a roar of pure fury erupting from his throat. Zara didn't even flinch. What happened next would be debated in alien military academies for generations to come. She moved, not like a frightened prey animal, not like a desperate survivor, making a last stand. She moved like violence itself, fluid and precise, and absolutely unstoppable. Her body became a weapon, every movement calculated for maximum damage. The first arm that reached her was broken at the elbow before Thrakx even realized she'd moved. The second found itself twisted at an impossible angle, tendons snapping like violin strings. The general's roar of fury became a shriek of pain as the human did something to his third arm that made several spectators actually faint. But it was what she did to the fourth arm that really got everyone's attention. Because instead of just breaking it, she used Thrax's own momentum against him, pivoting at exactly the right moment to send all 12 feet and several tons of alien Warlord crashing face first into the arena wall with sound like thunder. The impact was so violent that cracks appeared in the crystalline surface. Thrakx slumped to the ground, stunned and broken, ichor leaking from multiple wounds. He looked up at the human standing over him, and for the first time in his life, he knew what prey felt like. "The thing is," Zara said conversationally, crouching down so she could look directly into his fading eyes, "humans have this funny habit of studying everything that tries to kill us. Your anatomy, your weak points, your pressure points, the exact angle needed to snap your exoskeleton." She paused, tilting her head slightly. "Did you know that despite all your biological advantages, you guys have the same basic neural structure as Earth crabs?" I wrote a paper on it. The arena was dead silent. Thousands of alien spectators stared in shock at the impossible scene below. Their greatest champion, the terror of a dozen star systems, had been systematically dismantled by a single human girl who looked like she might blow away in a strong wind. But the best part, the part that would haunt their nightmares for years to come, was that she'd done it all without breaking a sweat. Zara stood up and looked around at the crowd, that same pleasant smile back on her face. "Oh, don't worry," she called out cheerfully. "This is just a beginning." And as if summoned by her words, the sky above the arena began to burn. The burning sky wasn't metaphorical. Streaks of superheated plasma began raining down from orbit, each one precisely targeted to avoid the arena itself, while systematically destroying every military installation, communication tower, and government building within a 50-mile radius. The crowd's panic reached new heights as they realized they were witnessing an orbital bombardment of surgical precision. Zara pulled out a small communication device and spoke into it with the casual tone of someone ordering coffee. "Phoenix Base, this is Lazarus. Package delivered. Begin Phase 2. The response came through crystal clear, in perfect human English. "Copy that, Lazarus. Welcome back to the land of the living. Phoenix Squadron is painting targets now." Thrakx, despite his injuries, managed to lift his massive head. "Impossible," he wheezed, ichor bubbling from his mandibles. "We destroyed all human vessels. We confirmed every kill." Zara looked down at him with something that might have been pity. "Oh, you destroyed the vessels you could see. Sure. But here's another fun fact about humans, General. We're really paranoid. Like, seriously paranoid. You think we didn't have contingency plans for alien invasion?" She gestured to the burning sky above them. Deep space monitoring stations, hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae. Automated shipyards in the void between systems. Sleeper agents scattered across a dozen worlds. Her smile turned predatory again. "You didn't destroy humanity, General. You just pissed it off and sent it underground. The crowd was pushing against the sealed exits now, their earlier bloodlust replaced by the very real fear that they might be next. Vex had abandoned his announcer booth entirely and was trying to squeeze his slug-like bulk through a maintenance hatch. "But wait," Zara called out, her voice carrying easily over the chaos. "There's more." She pressed another button on her device, and every screen in the arena flickered back to life. But instead of showing the expected arena feeds, they displayed something that made the alien spectators freeze in terror. Earth, not the smoking ruin they left behind, but Earth as it was now, green continents under blue skies, massive orbital habitats spinning serenely around the planet, ships moving in and out of atmosphere like schools of metallic fish. "Turns out," Zara continued conversationally, "when you glass a planet, you don't actually destroy the people who weren't on it at the time. Funny how that works. Mining colonies, research stations, merchant fleets, diplomatic missions. Plus all those paranoid deep space installations I mentioned. The screen switched to show massive human fleets emerging from hyperspace around Thrakx worlds. Not the primitive vessels the aliens remembered fighting, but sleek warships bristling with weapons that made their own technology look like stone knives. 3 months, Zara said, beginning to pace around the fallen general like a professor delivering a lecture. "That's how long it took us to reverse engineer your technology, improve it, and build a fleet that could take on your entire empire. Turns out when you're motivated by genocidal rage, you can accomplish quite a lot." Thrakx was staring at the screens in horror. "Your species was barely capable of interplanetary travel. These ships, this technology, it's impossible." "You keep using that word," Zara said cheerfully. "I don't think it means what you think it means. See, here's what you didn't understand about humans. We're not impressive because we're naturally superior. We're impressive because we adapt. We learn. We overcome." She crouched down next to him again. "Every species you've conquered before was static. They had their technology, their capabilities, their limits, and that was it. But humans, we don't accept limits. We see a problem and we solve it. You became our problem, General." The screens now showed Thrakx fleets in full retreat, pursued by human ships that move with impossible speed and precision. The commentary was being provided by human pilots, who sounded like they were having the time of their lives. "Phoenix leader to all units. We have Thrakx cruisers breaking formation. Looks like they're trying to run." "Copy that, Phoenix leader. This is Valkyrie's squadron. Permission to pursue and engage?" "Granted, Valkyrie. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to send a message." "What kind of message?" "The kind that glows in the dark." Zara stood up and addressed the crowd directly. "Now, I know what you're all thinking. You're wondering why we haven't just glassed every Thrakx world the way they glassed Earth. Why we haven't wiped out the entire species." She paused for dramatic effect, letting the tension build. "It's because we're better than that. Humans don't commit genocide, even against those who commit genocide against us. We're not monsters. We're just really, really good at making monsters regret their life choices." The screen switched again, showing human forces systematically dismantling Thrakx military installations while carefully avoiding civilian areas. Prisoners were being taken, medical aid was being provided to wounded aliens, and refugee camps were being established for displaced populations. "So here's what's going to happen," Zara continued, her voice taking on an authoritative tone that somehow carried more weight than all of Thrax's roaring. "The Thrakx Empire is dissolved as of today. Your military leadership will be tried for war crimes. Your conquered territories will be liberated. Your people will be relocated to designated worlds where they can live peacefully under human oversight." Several aliens in the crowd started to protest, but Zara held up a hand that somehow commanded immediate silence. "And before anyone starts whining about the injustice of it all, remember that this is mercy. We could have done to you what you did to us. We chose not to. Consider that a gift." Thrakx managed to struggle to a sitting position, his forearms hanging uselessly at his sides. "You cannot do this. The galaxy will not accept human dominance. Other empires will unite against you." Zara laughed, and the sound was genuinely amused rather than mocking. "Oh, General, you really don't get it, do you? We don't want to dominate the galaxy. We just want to make sure nobody ever tries to wipe out another species again. She gestured to the screens, which now showed human diplomatic teams meeting with representatives from dozens of alien civilizations. Even as we speak, humanity is establishing the Galactic Protection Accord. Every species gets a voice. Every world gets representation. And if anyone ever tries to pull another Thrakx Empire stunt, well, the screens showed human warships taking position around key systems, their hulls gleaming with barely contained power. Let's just say we'll be watching. The arena's exit doors suddenly ground open with mechanical groan. Fresh air rushed in, carried with the sounds of human shuttles landing outside. The crowd began streaming toward the exits, desperate to escape before things got any worse. Zara watched them go with that same pleasant smile. "Oh, don't worry," she called after them. "You're all free to leave. In fact, we insist on it. Spread the word about what happened here today. Make sure everyone knows that humanity is back, and we have very long memories." As the last of the spectators fled, the arena fell quiet except for the distant sounds of orbital bombardment and the approaching human forces. Zara pulled out a medical kit and began tending to her own minor injuries, humming a tune that Thrakx didn't recognize. "Why?" the broken general finally asked. "Why keep me alive? Why not just kill me and be done with it?" Zara looked up from bandaging a cut on her arm. "Because, General, you're going to serve a purpose. You're going to stand trial. You're going to face the families of the people you murdered. You're going to spend the rest of your very long life thinking about what you did." She finished with the bandage and stood up. Death would be too easy. Justice, on the other hand, justice takes time. The sound of boots on stone echoed through the arena as human soldiers entered through the main gates. They were led by a tall woman with silver hair and the kind of bearing that suggested she'd seen her share battles. "Commander Chen," the woman said, snapping a crisp salute. "Admiral Torres, Phoenix Command. Good to have you back." Zara returned the salute with a grin. "Good to be back, Admiral. I trust the liberation is proceeding on schedule." Like clockwork, Thrakx resistance collapsed faster than our projections suggested. Turns out when you remove their technological advantages, they're not nearly as fierce as they pretend to be. Zara glanced down at Thrakx, who was listening to this exchange with growing horror. Any word from the other teams? All objectives secured. The Empire's command structure has been completely dismantled. We've got their leadership in custody, and their fleets either destroyed or surrendered. Torres paused, looking around the arena with distaste. "I have to say, Commander, I'm impressed you managed to play the helpless prisoner act for 3 whole months. Must have been difficult." "You have no idea," Zara said with feeling. "Do you know how hard it is to pretend to be helpless when everything in your training is screaming at you to fight back? I nearly broke character 6 times. But it was worth it," Torres observed. "Getting captured, letting them parade you around as their prize, studying their weaknesses from the inside. Classic Trojan horse strategy." Thrakx finally found his voice. "You planned this. All of it. From the beginning." Zara looked down at him with something that might have been sympathy. "Did you really think we wouldn't have sleeper agents among our own people? Did you think we'd just accept extinction quietly?" She knelt down one more time, meeting his burning gaze directly. "I volunteered for this mission, General. I volunteered to be captured. I volunteered to endure 3 months of your people's hospitality while our fleets prepared. I volunteered to stand in this arena and listen to you gloat about murdering my species." Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than all his roaring ever had. "And I volunteered to be the last thing you saw as a free alien before spending the rest of your life paying for what you did." She stood up and nodded to Torres. "Take him away. Make sure he gets medical attention. Can't have him dying before his trial." As the human soldier secured the broken Warlord and began leading him away, Zara looked up at the now empty arena seats. The crimson sky was clearing as the orbital bombardment concluded its work. In the distance, she could see human shuttles landing, bringing aid and administrators to begin the long work of rebuilding a just society. "Commander?" Torres asked quietly. "How do you feel? About the mission, I mean, about everything." Zara considered the question carefully. How did she feel? Tired, certainly. Relieved that the deception was over. Satisfied that justice was finally being served. But underneath it all was something else. Something that surprised her with its strength. Hope. I feel like we just proved something important, Admiral, she said finally. We proved that no matter how dark things get, no matter how hopeless the situation seems, humanity doesn't give up. We adapt. We overcome. We survive. She looked one last time at the arena where she'd just dismantled the galaxy's most feared warlord with nothing but knowledge, preparation, and a kind of stubborn determination that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. And sometimes, she added with a smile that would have made her old professors proud, we even win. As they walked out of the arena together, leaving behind the shattered remnants of an empire built on fear and conquest, the first human colonist ships were already beginning their descent toward the liberated worlds below. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to have humanity as its guardian rather than its victim. And somewhere in the depths of space, automated deep space monitoring stations continued their endless vigil, making sure that nothing like the Thrakx Empire would ever rise again. Because humans, as Zara had so eloquently demonstrated, had very long memories indeed.